You're listening to the Travis Makes Money podcast presented by GoHighLevel.com. For a free 30-day trial of the best all-in-one digital marketing software tool on the planet, just go to GoHighLevel.com/Travis. What's going on, money makers? Welcome back to the Travis Makes Money podcast, where it's our mission to help you make more money. Today on the show, we're talking about meditation with my new friend, Ariel Garten. Ariel is a known neuroscientist and co-founder and visionary of Muse, the brain-sensing headband. Muse has helped over 500,000 users improve mental health, reduce stress, and improve sleep. It's been trusted by NASA, medical professionals, and featured in over 200 different studies. She's done all of this with no prior business experience, and she personally raised $18 million from Silicon Valley investors to start the company. She's also been featured in major media outlets such as CNN, Forbes, the New York Times, Wired, and many more. Ariel, thank you so much for taking the time to join me on the show today.
It is my joy and pleasure to be here today, Travis.
So I was initially introduced to your product probably, 2018, I would say, maybe 2017 even, when I first started listening to a bunch of podcasts, and then all of a sudden people started talking about meditating all the time. It was the first time I'd heard about that. And then as soon as I heard about meditating, I heard people talk about, oh, you should use this Muse headband thing. So that was my kind of my first introduction into the world of meditation was the headband that you guys designed, and that was a few years back. Still happy to this day. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Thank you for putting out your ideas into the world. I know you're making a really big difference there. But before we jump into the Muse story specifically, let's go back in time a little bit. Ariel, tell me how you made your first dollar ever.
So I've made a lot of dollars, and the first ones were probably playing dreidel, and the next one was a lemonade stand. So as a kid, my brother and I had a lemonade stand starting from the age of 5, and we sold premium lemonade that had things like raspberries and mint leaves in it because you could charge more money for premium lemonade. So I think I was an entrepreneur from birth. My dad was an entrepreneur, and so we were always taught to have an idea and just bring it to the world and try to make it happen.
What did your dad do specifically?
So his parents were immigrants to North America, and they bought their first house, which the whole family lived in, and then they sold it and bought another house, and over and over and over again. And so my dad, at the age of 19, started doing the same. So he was a real estate entrepreneur, and my mom was an artist. Two very different careers, but both people who made stuff themselves with their own hands in the real world and never worked for anyone else.
Very interesting. Interesting way to grow up. Did you have any siblings?
I have a brother, yes.
Okay. Did he end up doing entrepreneurial path as well, or did he kind of move more on traditional?
Absolutely entrepreneurial path. So it was very much inculcated in us from a young age that working for somebody else was kind of a waste of your time or energy, and that the bold way forward was to make your own way. And it didn't seem bold; it just seemed obvious and like what you should do.
What did they do as parents to? Besides, obviously, they modeled it, which is a big deal. That is not a small thing. They modeled that way of living for you guys. But was there anything additional that you remember them doing in terms of being a parent that like encouraged you to think that way or move along that path? Asking because I'm selfishly a parent and I ask as much parenting advice as I possibly can. So,
yeah, totally. So my parents did many things to lead me in that path. One was giving me tons of confidence. So they're always really encouraging of me, really supportive of me, really believing in me. When I was little, my dad would drive us around and point out houses and tell us the value of it, what it would be bought for, what it would be sold for. And probably, as a young kid, I could point to a house and tell you what it was worth at that time. And then since real estate was the family business, we had a few apartments down the street. My dad, at 12, he got sick and tired of showing them. And I'm like, I can show them, I can do it. And so I became like a mini real estate agent. And then when I started to develop my own thing, it was in fashion as a teenager because I was a teenage girl into fashion. And so I started to make a line of shirts. And I looked at it and I was like, hey, I can sell these. And so I, at 16, took my t-shirts that I'd sewn myself, took them from store to store and said, hey, do you want to post my shirt in your store? And they're like, yes, I can take it on consignment. I didn't know what consignment was. I was like, yes, okay. And then by 19...
All I heard was yes.
Yes, yes. And then by 19, I had my own clothing line, and my parents really let me do these ventures and supported me. I was very, very lucky that they could support me financially in them. You know, they would help me by buying supplies that I needed. I started a store when I was 22, and they, you know, helped me financially because it sometimes succeeded, sometimes failed. And I needed to, if I didn't have that safety net of their support, whether it was emotional support, a little bit of financial support, you know, encouragement, you know, knowing that I wouldn't go hungry or that I wouldn't lose their love if I failed, it was huge. And so they were hugely successful in making me who I am as an entrepreneur. And I was lucky enough to be able to have their financial support, but I also, you know, gave back and worked in the company business and worked in the family business. And really, we were all team players in what was an overall business environment.
Did you end up going to school?
I did. I went to university. It was initially going to be for fashion, but I figured that was a waste of time because I could, you know, I could figure that out on my own. So I went to school for science because that you can't figure out on your own, specifically neuroscience. And then I started working in a research lab in the early 2000s with one of the inventors of the wearable computer. And he had an early brain computer interface system. And I looked at it and said, this is amazing. And I can totally take this out of the lab and make it into a business. And that became the beginning of Muse.
Interesting. So it's fascinating when I find somebody like you with this clear, defined entrepreneurial spirit, but you also went in this traditional path of going to school and getting a real degree, doing something that really matters in the world, and then being able to marry those two things together it's got to be rare. How many people did you go to school with that ended up starting their own companies after they were done with school? Probably not a lot, I would assume.
Very, very few. Next to none, yes.
Yeah. But this seemed it was poised for you to do, neuroscience and entrepreneurship. And then at the time, meditation is starting to become this really big buzzword everybody's talking about all the time, because you were kind of in the game before even Calm was. Right. And then Calm kind of made it even more mainstream. And then the market seems to have gotten infinitely bigger since even you jumped into it.
Yeah. And there was definitely a large element of luck there. We had this technology that was incredible. We thought we were going to use it to control computers. That turned out to be very hard to do. But along the way, we discovered it was really good to help people meditate. We could actually give people real-time feedback on what was going on in their mind so they could know when they were focused and know when their mind was wandering. They could know when they were meditating. And we actually went to a conference in 2012 on the Google campus called Wisdom 2.0, which was a marriage of meditation and technology. And we walked away from that conference saying wow, there's a market here. There are people here who want this. There are people who get our technology. And it was one of my co-founders, Trevor Coleman, who really had the flash of insight about how this could be a great meditation tool and how that would really provide the sort of thin edge of the wedge. Because we had this great technology that could do everything, but it doesn't matter if it's not doing something for a specific person who wants it. And meditation and helping people meditate with this technology ended up being the thin edge of the wedge, the thing that got it into people's hands and that got it to be a meaningful and useful device that made impact in people's lives. And then once that happened, we could start to explore and play with all of the other applications that we could build with Muse.
So let's talk practically here, Ariel. This is a Travis Makes Money podcast. We try to help people figure out ways to make more money. And for somebody listening who might have an idea for some sort of physical product, even if it is way less intense in terms of the technology needed to make it work like your guys' was, what is even the first step? How do you go from I have an idea for something that I want to create, and it's a physical thing and it needs to be manufactured and it needs to be shipped and somebody has to get it and then they have to use it and then they have to like it. Where do you start in all of this? How do you even go from 0 to 1?
Sure. And it is so much easier to do now because with rapid manufacturing processes, you can have an idea, you can send it to somebody, and they can manufacture it for you. Well, the first thing you want to do is not necessarily make the thing. The first thing you want to do is talk to lots of people about it. And I know often entrepreneurs can be really hesitant about talking to people about their ideas because they're afraid somebody's going to steal the idea. But let me tell you, making stuff is really hard. And if you're even having, struggling to figure out how to do it, somebody that you tell is in no way going to go into it. So you really need to go tell people about it, talk to people about it, figure out if they want it, figure out what they like about it and what problem it really solves. Will they pay for it? Will they pay more than the cost of manufacturing? And then once you...
I realized this the first time that I was raising money for our startup, and I started reading as much as I possibly could about fundraising and everything. And I found out that most investors will not sign an NDA to receive a copy of your pitch deck. And that was when I really figured out, like, oh, it really is all about the execution. Like all of the professional investors, all of the people who, for a living, they just look at pitch decks all day long and they're looking for new companies to invest in. All of those, like none of those people are going to sign an NDA because none of them care to have to spend the time to even sign a document that says that they're not going to steal your IP, because all of them know that an idea is not even a dime a dozen. It's probably a dime 100. And it's 100% just the execution against the idea that matters most. So if you're 100% second that, if you're in a situation where you're like, I just don't want to tell people about it because I'm afraid somebody's going to steal my idea. It's like, okay, well, nobody's going to steal your idea, but I guarantee you're going to regret it if you don't talk to people before you make something, because it costs a lot of money to make something. So you're going to make something that you don't even know that people want, and then you're going to try to go sell it to them, rather than like what Ariel is saying is if you go talk to your ideal segment of the customers that you want to buy it, and then you can talk them through the idea and see if it's something that's interesting to them at all. And most effectively, if you can get them to pay anything for it. That's how you start knowing that there might be some meat on the bone here. Maybe I should go get this first one made, because I talked to 50 people and 20 of them actually put a 10% deposit down to say that if you make this, I will buy it. And if you don't make it within this certain period of time, I'll give you your money back. But I need more than just like, oh, sounds good. There's a lot of, I don't know if you ran into that, but a lot of people were, a lot of people around you, the people close to you, don't really know exactly what to look for. They just want to be encouraging. So they'll be like, oh yeah, sounds like a cool idea, and it's like, okay, great. And then you go make it and try to sell it to them. And they're like, I don't actually want it. I just think it's a cool idea. And then you're kind of back to, square one.
It's exactly what I was going to say. Yes. So people will always, thankfully, if you have great people in your life, they're going to be encouraging and they're going to smile and nod. And that encouragement is really important. And that's kind of, some of the fuel that you take. And so when you talk to people, you also have to be willing to ask the tough questions and say, hey, thank you so much for the encouragement. I love this. Now, can you help me really figure out if this is a good idea or not, and what I want to make and what it should be? And, ask some questions about how they would use it, where they would use it. Would they really use it? Do they really need this? Have they thought about having something like this before? And try to parse exactly if it would be useful, in what contexts and how. I want to talk about another common mistake that people make when it comes to building products, physical things that are being manufactured. A lot of people are like, I have this idea, I need to patent it. You do not need to patent it. That is the biggest money sink of all time. If you have an idea, your first call should not be your patent lawyer. It should, as you said, be your marketer, be your market, be the people that you want to be selling this thing to. And then once you discover that there is interest there, the next step is to make a prototype. By the way, if you're getting people to pay for it, it creates a lot of pressure and it's going to take you a long time to make it. So, you can even give them their money back that day. Just like, okay, well, that was just an interesting test. And then when you get closer to actually manufacturing it, you can come around to them. When you go to manufacture it, there's lots of prototypers around, and there's lots of also incubators around. If you just Google, incubator to make physical products or incubator around whatever your product is, you are going to find incubators that have relationships to the manufacturers. And even manufacturers these days have incubators because they know it's really valuable for them to bring on people with fresh new ideas who want to make stuff and then hold their hand and guide them through the process. Back in my day, these things did not exist. But I was able to find a design firm and work with the design firm. Also, another fallacy, you don't have to go to like some crazy top design firm like Frog or IDEO that's going to cost you a gazillion dollars. You can even start with, students at your local design school to do the industrial design on it. And they'll probably have some prototyping tools there that you can, get your hands into using. And there are also agents that can take your products over to overseas to manufacture them. So don't be afraid of the world of manufacturing. Manufacturing is done all the time. There's established processes for it. And so you'll just find a agent or a manufacturer or an incubator that does your kind of manufacturing. You'll call, you'll ask lots of questions, and they'll guide you through the process.
How difficult or easy is it to get that first prototype done? Is this like a 12-month thing? Is this a 30-day thing? And then how much does it cost typically? Obviously, that's going to be a wild difference compared to the thing that you're going to be making. But if it's some sort of like a physical handheld thing that you're wanting to get the cost down to $50 or something like that, eventually when you're manufacturing at scale, at first it's going to cost you significantly more than that, right? To like get some molds made, or at first there are no molds made, so it has to be done by hand or something like that. Like it's gonna take some time, and it's gonna cost a little bit of money to get that first prototype made, I guess is what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. So these days, 3D printing has absolutely changed the game. So your first prototypes are going to be 3D printed, at least the plastics for them. In our first prototype, we had rubber in it, but even those rubber parts were just 3D printed at first. Now they have very flexible, rubber-like substances that can be printed. You can even print metal. So the first step is going to be 3D printed, and it could be much cheaper than you expect. You could get your first prototypes for $50 each for something that doesn't have electronics in it. If you have electronics in it, somebody's going to have to do the electronics design. And that can also be your contract manufacturer. They have engineers on site. On our staff, we have electrical engineers that design the boards and then work with our manufacturer to execute those boards. But you can actually get boards for simple circuits printed from companies like JLB, and a simple board is $5 for a minimum order of 10 for 50 boards. My husband did it the other day. He designed some cool little gadget and just sent the board off to JLB. And we were like shocked at what he got back. He actually also ordered a piece. He's been making cameras, and he needed a piece tooled, like to very precise tooling to work with his gears. So he designed this all in CAD. He sent it off to them. And this beautiful tooled piece of metal came back with precise gearing for like $8 a piece. So manufacturing's really changed.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't realize it had gotten that much easier. Okay, so you have a prototype. Now what do you do?
On the prototype side, I'm also going to say there's still a lot of merit to using things that are off the shelf and taping them together. So often when we make prototypes, we will look for an existing thing, source it, something that exists, the battery pack, the cables, etc. Tape it together, obviously not using tape, it involves some solder and other things. But that also can be a great way just to have a very first prototype before you get to manufacturing that gives you like a, feel for it. You don't even need to make a working one. You want to say like, okay, I've got this in my hand. Does it feel like I want it to feel? Is it the right size? Does it, do I want to put it on my shelf? Like, whatever it is that you want to be doing with this item.
You have the prototype now. Is it like landing page time? Like what, and for you, I think you had to have some sort of a mobile app or some way to connect to the device or something like that as well, right?
Yeah.
But assuming you don't have something like that, like what are the next, like what's kind of the go to market for the product? How do you start getting people familiar with using the product?
Well, first you want to do a whole bunch of user testing. So, you have a prototype and you want to put it in people's hands, see how they use it, see if the functionality works, see if they care about it. They'll tell you. And then you're going to make some images for some packaging and probably hire a branding firm to help you with your package design. But you actually don't even need package design before you put up the landing page. So, step one is get the thing into some people's hands, get some feedback, refine. Step two can be landing page time. You want to think about who your market is. You want to see who you can sell to locally first, because then you can get real-time feedback on, how is it? This local person has it in their shop. Is anybody noticing it? Does anyone care? And then you, again, need to go through some processes of refinement to really get it right for your audience. You can do a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo. Those things do not lead to automatic cash. The Indiegogos and the Kickstarters that you see that are like, and they made $1 million with this ice chest that sends pop into the air and is pretty, like whatever. Those are people who have PR agencies behind their campaigns and like really plan their campaign. So you can't just, put up an Indiegogo and hope it's going to go okay. Because like everything, it requires some marketing. But while you were in the early stages of figuring things out, put up a landing page. You can do a little SEO. You can do a test little like Indiegogo or Kickstarter campaign, and locally start to engage people with it, refine it to the point where you have something that's really worth investing in, bringing on a PR firm, bringing on a branding firm, package design, and all of the stuff to actually take it to market.
Ariel, it's been fascinating. I love the product. For those that are listening, if you have, well, really, it's like any stage of it. If you've tried meditation before and you're struggling to silence your mind, if you have not tried meditation before and it's because you have a difficult time silencing your mind, I highly recommend going and picking up one of their Muse headbands. All it does, like you put it on your head and you put in headphones and then you start to meditate. And what's really cool is that it basically gives you this kind of like really pretty soundscape of kind of birds chirping, and you get this vibe of it's a beautiful day outside, and you can kind of close your eyes and imagine whatever sort of peaceful landscape that you want to. And then what happens is when you're meditating, when you're in the session and your brain starts wandering and coming out of that meditative phase, then instead of like birds chirping and stuff, you start hearing like a tumultuous thunderstorm brewing in the background and things like that. So it makes it really like more fun and interactive, but it's a good way to like call your mind back and get focused back into meditating, because that is the most difficult part of meditation, is training your brain to do nothing, because your brain's always trying to do something. Whether it's reaching into the past or thinking about the future or being stressed or anxious about what you have on your plate today, your brain's always trying to go into all these other different directions. And so that can be the difficult part about meditating, is if you're just sitting there, you don't really realize, you're not recognizing when your brain is wandering. So to have something like this, and to where it's not like an alarm clock sound where it's just like, oh no, my brain's wandering. It's like a, bad Travis type of a thing, it's more of just like, oh, it's starting to get a little stormy. Time to bring my mind back to center here and focus on the present. So I've found it to be extremely helpful for me as a newbie meditator. And I highly recommend it to anybody who's listening, who's struggled with it or has not tried it because they know they would struggle with it. So where can they go to get a Muse headband, Ariel?
So you can go to choosemuse.com, and you probably actually have a discount code.
I do have a discount code, actually. For some reason, it's not in front of me, but I will put it in the show notes for anybody who's listening who wants to pick up a Muse headband. We'll put that in the show notes. We'll put it on social as well as our email newsletter. So for anybody that's listening, be sure to go to the show notes here on this episode, or just search my Instagram. It'll be on there. But we'll make sure we put that discount code front and center so that you guys can get a hookup on the Muse headbands and try them out. Ariel, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show. I appreciate your expertise from manufacturing and product side, as well as your entrepreneurial spirit and the product you put out into the world. I know you got a million things on your plate. You can be doing a bunch of things with your time. So I appreciate you taking the time to spend with us. Everybody else listening, remember, money only solves your money problems, but it's a little bit easier to solve the rest of your problems if you got some money in the bank. So let's solve that problem first here on the Travis Makes Money podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you guys next time. Peace out.